Welcome to my channel. This is the Dyatlov Pass Incident. The year was 1959, and the place was the northern Ural Mountains of Russia, more specifically a place called Kolotsiekal, also known as Dead Mountain. Legend has it that the Mansi people, the native tribe of the region, have always considered this place sacred. They knew it as a place of great power where humans should not trespass. But those warnings fell on deaf ears. 9 Soviet hikers, led by 34-year-old Igor Dyatlov, were determined to reach the summit of Otorten, the tallest peak in the region. Despite its terrifying name, which translates to deadly rocks, they were seasoned mountaineers, even veterans of similar expeditions. All of them were between 23 and 37 years old, physically fit, experienced in winter survival, and familiar with the terrain. They were part of a larger group of about 60 students and faculty at the Ural Polytechnic Institute, known as the Pearl River Group. But this expedition was smaller, more intimate, and had been planned since September of 1958. It was to be a leisurely excursion, a chance to bond and explore. The team packed their belongings, including sleeping bags, food, tools, and clothing, and they set off on February. The first few days went according to plan. They trudged through knee-deep snow, crossed frozen rivers, and slept in their tent at night, sharing stories and warmth. Then the weather turned. Blizzards howled. Temperatures dropped below -22 degrees Fahrenheit, and visibility became zero. Fear began to creep into the group, but they pressed on, hoping for better conditions ahead. On February, they reached an altitude of around 11,000 feet and decided to camp for a few days. That's when things took a turn. For the worst, that night, or early the next morning, they cut open the tent from the inside, abandoned their belongings, and fled. Some were found wearing only their underwear. Some ran away barefoot, even though the temperature was around -40 degrees Fahrenheit. All of them seemed to be in a rush, as if something terrible was chasing them. The first person to raise the alarm was Zina Kolmogorova, who survived the ordeal and later shared her story. She was part of a different group that set out on the same route. When they reached the area on February, they found the abandoned tent. It was ripped open, as if slashed with a sharp blade, and everything inside was left behind. Oddly enough, the backpacks were intact, as were the cameras and other valuable items. The most perplexing detail was the footprints. They were discovered on February, 2 days after the group vanished, in the snow leading away from the tent. It was as if someone had taken a blade to the canvas, terrified, and ran away barefoot into the storm. Rescuers combed through the region for the next few weeks, facing blizzards and sub-zero temperatures themselves. They scoured the area, searching for any trace of the missing group, but finding nothing but empty graves. Finally, on February, they discovered the first body. It was Lyudmila Dubanina, lying face down in the snow. Her boots and socks were missing. Her arms were bent at awkward angles, and her clothing was torn. Later, they found 2 more bodies nearby, Yulia Shkayturko and Yuri Krivonishenko. Yulia was only 23 years old and had once been a synchronized swimmer, according to her friends. Yuri was an experienced mountaineer who had led expeditions in the Caucasus and Pamir Mountains. Both of them were partially dressed, as if they had tried to flee and then collapsed from exposure. And both had serious injuries, including skull fractures and broken ribs. At first glance, it looked like an avalanche had struck them. But when the medical examiner performed autopsies, he found something even more disturbing. There were no wounds on the outside of their bodies, but their organs were damaged as if they had been in a car crash. One witness later described the condition of their bodies as gruesome, saying that it was like a film showing the internal organs of a human body. With each new discovery, the mystery deepened. Was it a deadly avalanche, sudden rock slide, or something more sinister? But there was more. On March, they found 6 more bodies near a river at the foot of the mountain. 2 of them belonged to the instructors, Yuri Yudin and Rustem Sloboda Panov. 2 were women, Svetlana Kornilak and Zinada Kolmogorova. And the remaining 2 were men, Yuri Doroshenko and Nikolai Thibault. Most of them were only lightly dressed, with some wearing nothing but their underwear. And many of them had severe head injuries and broken bones, again without a single external wound. But the most haunting scene was reserved for last. Galina Balyova, the youngest member of the group, at only 23 years old, was found in a small clearing several miles from the other bodies. Not only was she missing both eyes and her tongue, but there was no sign of a struggle or animals in the area. Her clothes were radioactive, as were the clothes of several other victims. Investigators assumed that whatever had happened to the group must have involved radiation, so they brought in experts to test the soil and water, but no traces of contamination remained by the time they arrived. Rumors began to spread throughout the small town of Yekaterinburg, where the group had started their journey. Many believed that the 9 hikers had stumbled upon a secret military base and had been killed by soldiers to cover up its location. Others whispered of strange lights and sounds in the sky, believing that the hikers may have encountered extraterrestrials. But the Soviet authorities quickly moved in to put an end to the rumors. On February, the official Soviet newspaper Pravda published a report on the incident. According to their account, the group had been on a routine hike, when suddenly heavy snowfall caused a snowdrift to collapse, killing 4 of them. The remaining 5, panicked by the noise and thinking that an avalanche was coming, abandoned their tent and ran away, only to freeze to death soon after. While the theory sounded plausible, it didn't explain some key details, like the injuries, the radiation, or the bizarre behavior of some members, like running away barefoot in the freezing cold, or cutting open their tent from the inside. And the lack of evidence, like the absence of any snowdrifts or avalanche debris in the area, made it even less convincing. An official investigation was launched, but the results were inconclusive. The doctors couldn't explain the injuries. The experts couldn't find any signs of radiation, and the eyewitnesses couldn't shed any light on the mystery. Eventually, the case was closed with the cause of death, listed as a compelling force unknown to science. Over the years, many theories have been proposed, but none of them can claim to be true. Some say the group accidentally stumbled into an alien spaceship and were attacked. Others argue that they were victims of a secret military experiment involving radiation or psychological warfare. Still, others believe that the legendary spirits of Dead Mountain are real and that the group paid the price for trespassing on sacred land. There is also evidence that points to a more mundane explanation, such as alcohol poisoning, hypothermia, or exhaustion. Maybe they were experienced hikers, but they were also ordinary people with flaws and weaknesses. Maybe they made mistakes along the way, like drinking too much alcohol or falling behind on their food rations. Maybe they got lost, disoriented, and exhausted, and ultimately froze to death. But even if we never know exactly what happened that night, one thing is certain: the Urals are a dangerous place. The weather can turn in an instant, and the terrain is unforgiving. Many people have died there, not from mysterious forces, but simply from getting lost or unprepared. As for the hikers, their bodies were returned to their families and buried in their hometowns. Their headstones stand as silent witnesses to a tragedy that may never be fully understood. And the mountain continues to draw those seeking adventure or answers, whispering its ancient secrets to the wind. So if you ever find yourself drawn to Dead Mountain, remember the hikers and tread carefully on sacred ground. I want to hear from you. What do you think happened to the Dyatlov hikers? Let me know in the comments. And as always, thanks for watching. Be sure to subscribe if you haven't already. I'll see you in the next video.